Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I hope everything's okay in your life. In this video you will find an updated version of series I prepared in the previous years. You're in luck for listening to the explanation because I felt the need to quickly discuss the content of the video. Each video will feature an interview with a class master about either the Succession or Awakening versions of a class. All videos, including the older ones, will be available in the playlist you see on the screen. You can find the link of the playlist in the pinned comment section. The purpose of this video series is to help you understand the basic role of the class within the game. I must clarify that it is not a deeply detailed guide. You will watch an interview in a conversational style aimed at answering the fundamental questions of those interested in playing a class. The class masters featured are experienced players who have dedicated thousands of hours to their class and to the Black Desert Online. You may recognize some and not the others, but unfamiliarity does not make them bad players. All the class masters mentioned have proven themselves in Black Desert Online world. Please be respectful when sharing your thoughts. Enjoy watching. Hello guys, welcome. Today's guest is Chicken for Succession Corsair class. Welcome Chicken, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks for having me here.
May you please introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? Which server are you playing at?
I'm Raised Chicken, mostly known as ChickenSan or Chicken. I play on both the EU and the NA server, and I'm from Portugal.
How did you find out of BDO and what caught your interested to stay in BDO?
Honestly, I don't really remember on the game because it was really a really long time ago, probably 2017 or something. I used to be a very casual player at the start, so I didn't really get much interest on it. But then maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I started doing Node Wars, and I think that's when I got really hooked into the game.
Have you ever taken a break from playing BDO? If so, what motivated you to come back?
I quit the game twice, but the first time didn't really count because I basically played the game 20 minutes. But I was on the wrong channel. I was on the Node War channel, and I had to kill grass beetles. But it was Node War time, and they were all despawned, so I couldn't complete the main quest line, and I was very confused. So I just closed the game.
It was very funny story.
So then, like a few weeks later, or like a few months, I started playing again. But I think I got mad that I was failing enhancements, and at the time Overwatch came out, and I just started spamming Overwatch, and I kind of forgot about BDO. I eventually was looking for a new MMO to play, and that's when I came back to BDO.
Because there is no proper MMORPG that can compete with BDO.
Yeah, I kind of played like Blade and Soul and Elder Scrolls Online for a bit, but yeah, I just remembered BDO like in the back of my mind, and like the combat was just so much better. I decided to come back.
How long have you been playing the class you are currently playing? Have you tried any other classes?
So I played Corsair for about a year and a half. I used to main Sork before that, from basically since I started playing until then, Awakening Sork. And I also tried the Awakening Corsair for a few months, but I didn't really like the playstyle. That's pretty much all the three classes I've touched.
So what sets the class you playing apart from the other classes? Why Succession Corsair?
I think what I enjoy the most is just the fact that she's very slippery. Her movement is really fun to use, basically during fights. Also, I kind of at the start picked it up because I really hated SA block classes like Valk, Warrior, etc. Right? So I just wanted to say like fuck you and use the will skills on them and break their blocks, and that's pretty much what sets the class apart.
Is your class evasion or damage reduction or both playable, and why?
So definitely evasion is preferred. I don't think DR is really playable, but I plan to try it in the future just to make sure. But in general, the class has an evasion passive and the evasion self buff, and there's like no DR sources, so you should probably just play it on evasion. However, for PvE, you need to have a DR set most times because evasion is just bad right now on PvE.
I mean, I tagged Corsair today and we watched your videos on YouTube, and I saw that thing, it was Shift E skill or something, I can remember. In Awakening, I think, the anchor skill, the anchor just to drop to the ground. I saw that there was a minus 12% accuracy debuff to your opponent. No one can just believe me that Corsair is a damage reduction. Corsair is pure evasion class, according to me.
Awakening too, yeah, for sure. I feel like you're just not utilizing the full kit of the class, right? Because of the evasion and the minus accuracy and stuff like that. Even though the succession side of it doesn't have the negative accuracy debuff.
What is your current gear score? Do you rush on your gear or you just take it easy?
Right now I'm around 760 gear score. Basically almost arc cap. I'm missing 1 tat armor and Pan W ring. I don't really rush the progression because I've been playing for so long. I just kind of progressed as the game released new stuff, right? I grind maybe like 10 hours a week, not much more than that. But it was enough to just keep up with the gear curve, basically.
Is Succession Corsair newbie friendly? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate its difficulty? If you want, you can just compare it with Awakening and Succession.
Compared to Awakening, they're very similar. They pull very similar numbers, but Awakening is pretty shit at early game spots. Suck is really easy to play and easy to learn. Awakening, it's not. It's very hard. So if you want to pick up Corsair and want to choose one or the other, I would definitely recommend Suck for new players. I would give it maybe a 2 or 3 out of 10 to play it at an entry level. Hardest part of the class is usually to get used to all the mobility options because she has like 5-6 mobility skills that you kind of need to use during your grinds, especially if you're like on the early game spots like Cactum.
So we are curious about your thoughts on PvE situation of the class you're playing. Could you provide us with detailed information separately for early, mid, and end game? How is Suck Corsair?
She's good at all levels, not the strongest, but I feel like she's definitely above average. For early game, she can have stamina issues, but if you learn how to manage your stamina, they shouldn't really pose a problem in most spots. For mid and late game, the issues usually come from her having like long cooldowns and not having an attack speed buff. Like this can affect a bit the grind spots. But in general, she's a very solid pick for PvE, I feel like. She has a lot of frontal guards to mitigate damage. She has a really good spammable PvE iframe, so it also helps on the survivability. And then in terms of damage, she has an infinite damage combo, decent burst, just good mobility if needed, so she can fit basically all grind spots in the game.
Let's talk about PvP. We are curious about your thoughts on the PvP situation of the class you are playing. Could you provide us with detailed information separately for 1v1, 1vx, Arena of Solar, 5 vs 5, Guild League, Node, Siege, and War of the Roses?
The kit of Corsair was designed with large scale in mind, but after the nerfs that removed a lot of items from the whales, she became not in the best spot for it. A 1v1 is quite bad. She has no grab and 2 protected CCs to fish for catches. She also has basically no ways of safely punishing people. If you're fighting against someone that has a grab or a slow or simply can like reposition really fast, she tends to not do well in 1v1s against those classes. The other matchups that don't have that kind of things, she can kind of stalemate them and not die. But when you want to win a 1v1, a lot of the times you start noticing that the class is not very well equipped for that. These 1v1 problems start translating then as well for small scale. So 1vx, AOS, 5v5s, she's not really great there either. And the fact that you have no protected CCs, when you do catch someone or someone is on the ground, you have no way of resisting them. So a lot of the times you're just forced to play off your teammates and try to follow up on damage that they throw, or then try to peel for them. So you don't have a lot of agency on the class because of that. For Guild League, it heavily depends on the comp that your guild is running. It's nice to have one because they're 100% is a skill that massively heals your team. And the block break debuff can also be useful. But if your guild is kind of just running a comp that's very ratty and not like blobbed up or tanky, she might not really do well because as a Corsair, you kind of want to stay on the same spot. You don't want to skirmish or chase people around because your skills are slow and fast classes will just dodge them most times. So you want for sure like to try to stay unblobbed and force people to come into you so you can eat your skills. And this now coming into large scale PvP, so that's Node War, Siege, and War of the Roses. I feel she's on an okay state right now. You have a lot of futility and you can play her in 2 different styles. You can either go the full DP route and just be a disruptor. You throw out debuffs, you try to heal your teammates, and you just try to basically be as annoying as possible. You can also just play it as a tankier melee class that is diving and disrupting the backline, but trying to actually get kills. But for that, then you also need to have a specific playstyle where you know how to position yourself really well. And that can be hard, especially when there's a lot of people, because the more people there are, the harder it is for you to position yourself in a spot where you don't get CC'd while using your frontal guard, or you don't get just blown up by AoE damage. I would say in general, basically the class is at its best between 20 and 60 players on each side. But then if there's less or more than that, it kind of starts getting weaker again. Inside that range of 20 to 60 players, she's an okay class to have.
Is there a significant strong aspect of the class you're playing or significant weakness? I mean, what is the strongest part for you and what is the weakest part for you?
I think the strongest part of the class is just her being very annoying and slippery. Her movement kind of allows that in some scenarios. I guess the block break and the block break debuff is a strong point of the class, but I don't feel like it's the strongest. Significant weakness is, however, as well her mobility, because it's full SA, and if you don't know how to use it well, or if you're caught in the middle of a lot of people, you kind of just get it staggered and die while trying to move. So it can be basically a double-edged sword in that sense.
Thank you. What about the counter matchups? What are your counters and what is which classes that Succession Corsair counter?
So in terms of counter, any class that has a grab basically can kind of just pressure Corsair until she's forced to use a slow whale skill, and then basically it comes down to the execution of that class hitting the grab or not. Corsair has some ways of cancelling their skills, so you can bait grabs and then try to punish them, but most times our skills are not fast enough to actually punish a failed grab. So it is quite free for grab classes to just catch us in that sense, because we can't really punish them a lot of the times. There's also the classes that can just slow us us down, like Musa, Awakening Ash, Awakening Zerker. There's classes that can just slow us down and then slowly stay on top of us and ship us down whenever we need to cast a skill. And there's really not much we can do. As for matchups that we counter, I guess just the basic, like if I'm on 1v1 with an archer or a ranger, I usually can just slowly run them down. But those are very weak 1v1 classes, right? I don't feel like Corsair really counters any class that's not already like very bad at 1v1s. So like we're basically good against ranger, archer, awakening witch, session staffs usually as well. And that's basically about it.
Is there a mechanics or skills in your class that you would like to be buffed or nerfed?
Yeah, this is a difficult question. For sure, I would like PA to remove the grab resist from the will skills. I feel like it's very unskilled to rely on resists, and I feel like the class shouldn't be built around a mechanic like this. So they should for sure remove the grab resist from the will skills and give us something else instead, like 200 HP heal per 1 second, something like that, basically. Another thing on the kit is that our rebuff is completely atrociously bad, so it needs a rework. Finally, it's basically, I think that PA should pick up the block break skills and just try to nerf them in a way that allows the class then to be buffed in other aspects. So you nerf the block break and then you buff the utility or the engage of the class or something like that. So because right now she has massively misses some sort of heal for the team that's not locked behind the 100% skill, and she misses 1 or 2 protected CCs for small scale fights. I feel like it's a good trade-off to nerf the class in some aspects, but then give it where she's lacking.
So can we get a brief summary of the good and bad things in your class? Like a summary, like with a few sentences. Let's say that I'm an average player, I tag Corsair, and what should I expect from your class?
I think the good things, like average player can just stay on the stay perma protected if they want, especially on PvP. And I guess like because you're playing a more utility focused class, you probably just feel like you're being useful in general for your guild because you're just debuffing people and while staying protected and throwing out whales left and right. I guess the bad point is that you never really get to pop off because it's not a flavor of the month class. So you pick it up, you play the Node Wars, you get maybe like a couple of kills, but you'll never go insane on it unless you're actually very good at the class. And if you don't actually leverage the terrain and the mobility of the class properly, and you don't know how to position yourself, I do feel like the class can be a bit useless, even though you feel that you're actually doing stuff. Maybe you're actually not, basically. So I feel like the good part is that it can give you the placebo effect that you're doing stuff, but in reality you might not, and that can be hard to identify as an average player.
Thank you. So let's talk about BDO itself. What are your thoughts on BDO's current situation from past until now?
As I said, I've been playing since 2017 or so. I quite enjoy the direction the game is taking. I feel like the open world PvP changes and all of that were a bit misguided in a way, but it does feel like it feels like PA is listening to some parts, but not to others, basically. But I like the direction the game is taking with PvE. I enjoy the boss splits. I enjoy the dungeons. I wish we had more content like that in the game, and I am looking forward to the patch that's coming out. I feel like PA needs to be a bit better at listening to the community when it comes to class balance, and as well to the PvP community when it comes to the PvP content. There's a lot of things like Shadow Arena at the time was pulled out. They never bring it back, even though the PvP community really wanted it. PvP community has been asking for RBF rewards to be buffed for years now. They haven't never touched them. We also get like Node War rework every like half a year, and nobody asks for it, but they still bring it out. A recent one is that War of the Roses was put on hold. We kind of wanted to keep playing it, but they kind of just put it on hold for over a month or 2 now, which is kind of sad for us. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they need to get better at listening to the PvP community for sure. I think that's it from my thoughts on this.
Okay, let's say that you're in charge in BDO, I mean in the PA. Let's say that you're a developer. What would you add in this game, like, or remove? One thing add, one thing remove.
I would, if I was in charge, I would try to force a balanced system similar to League of Legends and Valorant, where classes just suffer tiny nerfs and buffs every month or so. I think that's one of the things that the game is really hurting on. PA refusing to nerf stuff or then just over buffing others. It kind of just makes players that are in classes that never get touched a bit, they just feel left out, basically. As for removing something, 100% has to be resist for PvP. I feel like it's one of the worst mechanics the game has right now, and I just want it gone.
Thank you. So, what advice would you like to give to the newbies, returnees, and the other players?
I think you should take your own time with the game and play at your own pace to enjoy the experience. Find a guild, a newbie friendly guild. Maybe try to figure out first what you want to do on the game, and then try to find a guild that fits that space. So if you want to do Node Wars, you're going to try and find a tier 1 guild. If you want to do PvE content, maybe try to find a guild that plays a game with a more community-based and PvE orientation. That might require a bit of research, but the game itself has a spot for you to search guilds depending on content type, so it shouldn't be that hard. Either way, BDO is a marathon, not a race, and it doesn't really matter who's gonna reach the end first, so just do whatever you want.
Thank you. We are reaching the end of the interview. Is there anything else you would like to add before we finish?
Not really. If you're interested in Corsair content, I'm streaming weekly on Twitch, and I have some content on my YouTube. That's about it. Thanks for having me, Quendia, on this interview.
You're welcome. I should thank you because you gave tons of amazing ideas, amazing thoughts to people. And I can say that, guys, yes, Chicken is streaming. Chicken has a YouTube channel. You already seen it on your screen right now. Like today, I just tagged the Corsair and I watched his videos and I learned how can I just play the class, how can I find the cancels, what is tips and tricks, movement and some other things. And his videos are like perfect, clear and amazing. Thank you so much for this interview.
Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.
Alright guys, do not forget, video is just a game. Have a nice game.